Hi, and welcome to the second episode of the Dynamic Duos podcast. Throughout the course of 2024, I will be interviewing a range of dynamic duos who are helping to form a formidable business. So today I'm with John Longford from Spire and Ollie Lindley from Ynot agency. So do you want to just both start off just by introducing your companies, just a little brief explanation and a little bit about what you do?
Brilliant. So my name's John Longford. Spire are a financial advice firm. We look after predominantly business owners in the northeast of England and a selection of private clients as well.
So I'm Ollie, and I work for Ynot agency. We started about 6 years ago, I think it is now. Two friends of mine, Anthony and Tony, we met at Sunderland Football Club. Our backgrounds were in marketing and design. So we do video production, social media and design and branding.
So tell me something that people might not know about you both. So any world records, any sort of marathon events?
Oh, can't claim that, I'm afraid.
Anything interesting? Come on, John. I've seen you in the gym.
I was going to say, I've never completed any world records, but in November I did do a 4-day trek across the Sahara.
What did you?
For a charity. That was one of them once in a lifetime things. Somebody in the office asked us, did I want to get involved? And I thought, I'm never going to be asked that again. So I went, didn't really think about it very much. And it really was kind of came back and I thought that was kind of everything I wanted it to be, that kind of I didn't realise it would be. So I would recommend it to anybody.
Brilliant. Ollie?
Very contrasting, I guess, to John there is I play quite a lot of golf. I like to think I'm a fairly good golfer, scratch golfer, so that's how I want to spend most of my time. But yeah, walking around a golf course a lot easier than the Sahara Desert.
Very good.
And I've played golf with him and he is good. So yeah.
So how did you both meet then?
Muscle Club was probably the first time. Yeah. So Spire have their own networking group called the Muscle Club. That's been going for 16, 17 years. So lots of business owners and people representing businesses from the northeast of England come meet in one space and just talk about what they do. And that was how I think kind of we first met. I'll be honest, I can't remember the first meeting.
No, I can't either, to be honest. But it was definitely through the Muscle Club. It was something that when Ynot was starting out, that we thought it was a really good opportunity to meet like-minded people and to kind of build that networking. And it was through John kind of explained what Muscle Club was for, and then also Spire and how they can potentially help businesses as well.
So Ollie, I'm guessing you've probably got a personal pension with John.
Mm-hmm.
So why invest in a personal pension? Why not maybe in property? Why have you gone down that angle?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. I think it's an easier to digest. I think it's quite a simple when John lays it out. I think it is all quite clear, and you might have a few different pensions. I know I did at the time of when I met John, and bringing that all together under one kind of pension, and the different kind of risks that are associated to different tiers. It is quite easy to understand. It's you feel like your money's in a safe place and it has the potential to grow as well.
So are you a risk taker or risk averse?
I think having my own business, I'm slowly getting more and more risk taking, mm-hmm. and just seeing what you can do to push the limits on the business. And
so for you both, I guess, what's the biggest risk you've taken, whether it's in work or outside of work? And did it pay off?
Yeah, so for me, it's where I'm sitting now. So I was in an employed job. So I work for kind of one of the largest banks in the UK. And I decided I was a bit of a glass ceiling. I was doing financial advice exams. I wasn't allowed to talk about the basis of kind of what I was learning about with those clients. It wasn't part of my job description. So I thought, where's the next step and how do I progress? And I came to the conclusion that I had to move away from the bank. And it was through kind of luck and chance that I ended up meeting David Cook, who's the owner of Spire. And that was how I ended up here. But I had to decide to leave my kind of employed job to come and be a self-employed financial advisor.
What about yourself?
Yeah, and I think our biggest one would be from working at Sunderland with Anthony and Tony to going and doing it on our own, to going the self-employed route. had a little bit of savings behind us, and I think we were probably naive in the beginning, but I think that kind of gave us the motivation to do it. So yeah, it was definitely just starting, why not?
So did you feel like it was a risk taking out, I'm guessing, a personal pension? Did you feel like it was a risk or not?
I mean, compared to taking a jump starting your own business, I don't think so. No, I think the opposite ends of the scale, to be honest, especially the way it's all laid out in front of you. We never really felt as if there was any obstacles to doing it. I don't think there was any downsides. I think we were confident in John and what, you know, his services were.
So I guess, you know, with the recent economic forecast, you've had recession, looming pandemic, you've had the war in Ukraine. So how, I guess, do you attract or kind of advise people when they're looking, you know, maybe in their 20s or 30s, as to putting their money into a pension when they could be doing other things?
So there's a lot of kind of corny sayings when it comes to financial advice, but one of them is that kind of you don't kind of, the past isn't a reflection of what will happen in the future. So the first thing is kind of nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, but we do have data going back kind of 100 years showing that investments over time go up. What will always happen is there'll be volatility though, so they'll go up and kind of it might drop down a little bit. 2022 wasn't a fantastic year kind of on paper. However, if somebody's invested kind of over a few years, 2022 will just be a part of the story where their investments have went up. So it's trying to give people reassurance of the principles behind investing in general, and talk about pensions kind of specifically, the tax benefits of taking the money out of a limited company like what Ollie's got and putting it into a personal pension. It's so much more than just one part of an investment for the future. It's part of his tax plan strategy as well.
And what is the market like at the moment?
Recently, very good.
Good to know.
Just before that, not so good. So 2021 was a kind of a good year in terms of investment returns. 2022 was a lot of things coming together all at once, causing markets to drop, and it was the worst year since 2007, 2008, and then 2013, showing double-digit returns again. So it's a good story to tell people of how kind of not every year is identical, but clients are now sitting with more money than they've ever had with us.
And how do you find it, Ollie? I guess some of the probing questions that John likes to ask when it comes to financials, how do you sit with that? Do you find it okay, comfortable with it?
Yeah, I think you understand why and the reasons why he needs to ask those questions. So it helps him get a better understanding, and it's not like, you know, I don't think I've got anything to hide in terms of those, you know, sorts of questions. So, you know, it's quite comfortable, and if it ultimately helps you make a better decision about what your pension strategy should be, then yeah, I was all for it.
So how do you, John, I guess, put clients at ease when you do, I know from my own perspective, you do sometimes ask probing questions. So how do you kind of make people feel at ease?
I don't know, hopefully it's my natural charm, but it's all part of the process. I think a lot of people do walk through the door and they realise that I'm going to create a profile for them, and the more I know about that person, the better tailored conversations that I can have. So most people do come in ready to discuss things. You do get the odd person who kind of will say, well, why do you need to know that? And that's completely fine. As long as I can eloquently say kind of the more I know about you, the better advice that I can give you. So yeah, but I do think that it is a case of kind of by the time somebody walks through the door, they're happy to have a discussion around their circumstances because the notes for the best for them.
So John, often the economy can be up and down. So do you get any knee-jerk reactions from clients who think, right, I'm going to pull the plug on maybe a pension or an investment? So how would you reassure them?
Yeah, so you do get that. The majority of clients who we deal with will have the understanding from the start that not everything is kind of one way plain sailing. There's always ups and downs. But we've had things like COVID, we've had 2022, which wasn't fantastic. And there was one particular circumstance where a gentleman kind of got a bit panicked. And this was a phone call. And he said, kind of, I'm thinking about taking my investments out. Did basically kind of my job and just reassured him and said kind of it's kind of ups and downs, went back through his previous history and showed ups and downs again. And then kind of it was our next review, might have been a few months later, and he came back and he says kind of everything came back to where it's kind of where it should be. I'm over the moon. I've looked back at the time in that conversation, and the difference between the value of the fund of when I would have took it out and where it is now is about £20,000. She said that conversation potentially saved us £20,000. So again, I didn't do anything fantastic. All I did was reassure the client that kind of these things happen and it's about the long term.
So how have you, I guess, because I suppose in some way you act as maybe a bit of a counsellor. So how do you, I guess, manage that really?
Make it up as I go along, play it by ear. Like literally, I think every conversation, but like every conversation I have, there's a lot of similar themes because people's got the same questions and things like that. But kind of you don't know what somebody's going to say next. I think I'd like to think I'm quite intuitive. I can manage conversations, but yeah, I have had conversations where I've started kind of reviews and somebody's had a terrible illness that I wasn't aware of before I went in that review. There'd been deaths in the family and things like that. And then all of a sudden, kind of, I've got to change what I thought the conversation was going to be about to reflect that person. But yeah, I've been doing it long enough to manage that.
What's interesting, probably similar as you, Ollie, when you are being asked financial information and then asked about your partner and their financial information, although you know the person well, it is quite a strange process handing over that information as well. For me personally, possibly because can be a bit guarded around things like that. It's strange, just somebody knowing your financial information.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. And again, kind of everybody's different. I say the majority sort of let the guard down by the time they walk in the room. But you do get people who kind of still a bit sceptical, might not be the wrong, but guarded probably is a really good word because it's your private world.
Yeah, I think I probably asked you, why do you want to know that, John?
Yeah. And
Why do you need that?
You wouldn't have been the first, and you're definitely not going to be the last person.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting. What about you, Ollie? Did you just freely hand over all your information?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, I think we were quite comfortable with it, which was, and I do think it wasn't an instant thing from getting to, meeting John for the first time and then suddenly, you're there the next day talking about all this sort of stuff. We did meet over, a few of the networking events at Muscle Club, kind of, I think we socialised outside of that as well, and had a beer, and we were very comfortable with each other at that point. I think later down the line, so I don't think it was ever a problem for us.
I think with relationship building, one of the best referrals, not best, but one of the top clients that I have came from somebody who I'd known for a few years. The story goes, I was at a ball for Grace House, local charity. I was at their ball, and everybody went to the Stack after down Seaburn. And we're a little bit drunk, and he says, I'd refer kind of my friends to you. And all right, thank you. Never really thought much of it. The next day, I got an email come through. Can you go and see who's turned up his best friend, who owns a firm down in Teesside? And it got us thinking after that. I was just like, well, I've known him for quite a while. And probably wasn't conscious in his mind, certainly wasn't conscious in my mind. But it probably did get to a certain point of him known as however many conversations of that bit where actually I kind of had to introduce him to him. Certainly didn't meet us in the first day and went, actually, I've got somebody who you need to speak to. So things like that tend to kind of reflect on it and think, oh, kind of, I can see it happening now. Maybe I didn't see it happening at the time. Yeah,
so I think you naturally have a sort of an intuition about who you can develop a relationship with or who you trust, I think, don't you? A lot of it comes down to intuition. So, Ollie, were you impacted by COVID, and did this affect your attitude towards your pension? And if so, I guess, John, how did you help Ollie?
Yeah, quite drastically. In the initial stages, obviously a lot of work just halted and ceased to exist. So, yeah, there were definitely conversations that we had kind of straight away. I'm sure John's phone was ringing off the hook, but it was good to know that it was quite flexible with our pensions, and you can change the amounts that were going in each month, and obviously we got back on track after a year or so. But it was a difficult time, but it's nice to know that there's kind of a friendly advisor at the end of the phone that you can speak to.
So how did you manage that, John? Because I'm guessing you probably had quite a lot of people coming to you during that time, maybe who were a little bit panicked. So how did you sort of manage that process?
Yeah, so again, if I had to talk about business owners in particular, what's really important, and I don't mean this in kind of any, but your business is the same as everybody else's business, and the fact that cash flow is really important to it. So make no bones about it. The more money that your business makes, kind of the more you pay yourself, and naturally the more money that you kind of end up giving to your financial advisor to do something like put in a pension. So it's really important that your business is on a sound footing. So if you're coming at a time like during COVID and saying, actually, do you know what it is? cash flow isn't as strong as it should be, then you need to look at the right places to take to kind of reduce outgoings. So something like your pension might be that for a short period of time. So kind of we do have people who put the pensions on holidays and things like that, because the real important thing is that our business is still trading strongly in the future.
And for anybody who's starting up a business as well, what would be the benefits of a pension?
You want to retire someday, so we'll call it a Monday morning when you no longer own that company. You want to sit there, but you also want to have an income coming in. So your pension is like your job without having to go to work, which is lovely. And again, if you work with an accountant, then that accountant will guide you as well, kind of how to take money out of your limited company, put it into your pension, and that will reduce your tax bill. So it's a bit like paying yourself, deferring it for a later date, but also reducing your tax bill in the meantime.
What's the average age then that you're seeing people draw out the pension?
At the minute, the earliest you can draw is 55. In 2028, it's going to go to 57. I think probably early 60s is what we're looking at. Even as a financial advisor who's 40-year-old, if you ask me when I'm going to retire, I haven't got a clue. So I don't expect many people to actually kind of have a date and time in place. But I think I'll probably be mid-50s before I start looking at lifestyle and how much longer I want to continue working for. But it'll be an individual decision. But don't get many people on that first day that can draw the pension doing it.
But Ollie's hoping for 50 in the beach.
50, yeah.
That's the target.
That's the target.
Brilliant. Okay. So John, take us back to the very beginning of where you met Ollie and his team and how you've built that relationship with them, and I guess trust as well.
Ollie and the Ynot lads met at the Muscle Club. It's a great place to meet new businesses. So deal with a lot of sole traders, SMEs.
Plug in there, John, for the Muscle Club.
Yeah. So kind of it's an ideal place to meet people, and from there, what naturally happens is some of those people who you meet and build relationships with, they become clients of Northern Spires. So that's where kind of Ynot are at the minute. And it's a case of taking it step by step, and as they grow, creating certain products and services that we deal with on a daily basis that fit their needs at the time. So we might be just at the early stages of our relationship so far. In an ideal world, kind of we'll meet the likes of kind of Ynot agency, and there'll be a startup, and then in 20 years' time, we'll be selling for multi-millions of pounds to a bigger creative agency. But we'll see where that goes, because there's probably a long time between now and then.
That's it, because I guess trust plays a big part in that, because if you think about it, you start the working relationship with John, which could be anything from a couple of years through to 20, 30 years. So it's quite an interesting, partnership really,
It is,
isn't
and I think there's different kind of services along the way that John could offer. Like in the initial stages, it was talking about pensions and kind of put them in one pot. Life insurance is another thing that we've got with Northern Spire. So, but there's plenty of opportunities along the way. I'm sure if we do get to that multi-million-pound kind of value that we were talking about, that's quite nice.
So what about your own expansion plans, Ollie?
Yeah, so we've got an office in the middle of Sunderland. We've been going for 6 years, like I mentioned, and yeah, we've had moments in time where we've brought a member of staff in to help us, kind of junior level. We've always felt quite comfortable as the three as we are. But I think video production is a massive thing for us at the moment. It's quite a large part of our business. And some of the bigger projects we've worked with Virgin Media and Sky Sports and Direct Line. We bring in kind of casts and crews, and that's what we really like doing. Yeah, I think that we see kind of a lot of opportunities in the future as well to go for those big names.
Very good. Mm-hmm. And John, how do you bring in added value to your clients?
I keep saying this to everybody. If we look at just the products and services that Northern Spire typically, or I particularly deal with on a daily basis, tends to be pensions, investments and insurances. If we only do that, then we're not really giving a fantastic service to who's typically kind of a business owner. So what we need to do is create a network of professional connections around us, so we can make sure that any of our clients' needs, we can put them in the touch with the right people to kind of make sure that they're looked after in the right way. And then we do things like recently we've had panel events on for business owners. Again, just try to go that bit further and demonstrate a little bit more value by doing something extra that maybe our competitors are not doing in the marketplace.
So going back to that sort of the network that you wanted to put together, so how would you foresee that? What would you be doing there in terms of, I guess, adding value to clients? Something I'd be interested in knowing about.
Yeah,
some good leads, John.
Yeah, so if I think about the conversation I had yesterday, sitting with a couple, and the first page of my fact find about the client is, do you have a will in place? And they did. Fantastic. And I went, do you have your lasting power of attorney in place? And they went, no, we don't. So I found out who the will was with. It's somebody who I've worked with in the past. That says, can I do another email introduction to get you back in touch, because I would like to have a discussion around lasting power of attorney. That's not something I'm qualified or capable of doing. What is important is that I can establish that there might be a gap in the planning there, and I can put them in front of the right person to do that. So it is just a case of knowing who the good people are out there and making sure my clients are benefiting from them as well. And that's probably going to be a never-ending circle of a network around us. There'll always be people kind of dropping out, dropping in. But as long as I've got those people around us, then the clients can be looked after from outside of what I do.
And how do you feel John's added value to you and your business?
Yeah, no, I would second just exactly what John said there. I think Northern Spire and the Muscle Club together, even though they are kind of interested in the services they can offer your business, we do generally feel like they are also trying to help you and go above and beyond. And we've noticed on a handful of occasions, if not more, where they've been able to provide a reference or to provide you with an intro. And it's not just John, it's the rest of the team as well. I think they all generally do care about people and trying to set things up for for their clients.
What does the future hold for you, John?
Hopefully,
Crystal ball.
hopefully kind of keep on going as I am. So I've made my big move from kind of employed work into what I'm doing now. This is where I see myself being until I retire. So just keep on, from a professional point of view, building up the portfolio of clients, keep on work with interesting, good clients. And then from a personal point of view, kind of enjoy my life. I've got 2 kids, 7 and 4.
What does work-life balance look for you then?
Difficult sometimes, because kind of I feel like I do work hard. I'm flexible in what I do. I was at an 8 o'clock meeting the other Saturday morning. I've got a daughter who loves football more than I do, wants to play every night of the week. I've got a son who's 4 and absolutely kind of craves attention. And I want to make sure that the one thing I've been told so many times by people who are maybe a little bit older than us is, don't miss out on kind of your kids growing up. So them school plays, the activities, things like that. So I've very much got a work-life balance in the fact that I want to make sure that I'm doing both of those things. And I think the first thing is being conscious of that and then putting it in action.
What about you, Ollie? What about your plans?
Yeah, I think, well, with John's help, we retire at 50 and we go and lie on a beach. But I know the others want to do that. I think working with clients that you really enjoy working with, and some big names, what John was mentioned there, that's where we really want to push a business and aim for those big names, and that's what we've loved doing in the last couple of years.
And what about work-life balance? How are you finding that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've not got 2 children. I've kind of got half a child in my dog and my partner when we get married next year. So I think a lot of aims are towards that. Yeah.
What kind of dog have you got then?
A miniature schnauzer.
Oh,
Carlos.
very good. I've got a Labradoodle. He's very cute, Wilson. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for taking part in Dynamic Duos, and I look forward to the next episode.